So in the last video I talked about the Indian education system as a whole, which comprised my commentary on the entire ecosystem of our education system. But in this video I just want to talk about the schooling aspect of it, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And specifically I want to discuss three main things that I need you to pay attention specifically, and that's number one, your health, number two is your grades, and number three is social skills. So I'll talk about all of these three, and that's what we're going to discuss. But again, if you want to refer to my broader take on the Indian education system, you can refer to the previous video, which I'll link here. But now let's get started with this video. Let me tell you a story, right? When I was in school, my report card always used to say that your son is very talkative and he needs to work on this, right? That is something that always used to be on my report card. Now let me tell you something about when I went to my MBA. When I went to my MBA, everyone said that I was a very good orator and I communicated very effectively, and that is also true in my organization right now, that I am a good communicator. You see, these two things, the feedback that I got in my school report card, every report card that I got, versus the feedback that I am getting in my organization and in my professional life, these two don't coincide. Okay. The reason for that is, during your schooling days, you are subjected to follow hierarchy. In organizations also you are supposed to follow hierarchy, but you are also supposed to give feedback, because without feedback everyone does the same thing, right? Everyone in the organization at your hierarchical level does the same thing. So it's important that you provide feedback in meetings, you are an active participator. All of this is expected from you. So if you follow that report card advice, you are going to struggle in your corporate or professional career. So that's the thing that I want to get through to you, is the approach that schools take is wrong. And maybe not every school does it, but a huge majority of schools do this approach. The reason for that, I don't know, but potentially it can be that the teachers don't like being questioned. They don't like getting tough questions asked to them. Or in my case, a lot of times I used to tell, hey teacher, you are doing this in an incorrect way. Maybe doing this way it would be easier. So critical feedback falls on deaf ears. So that's one of the reasons why social skills is something that is really lacking in children because of how the schooling system is done. But like I mentioned, do not fall prey for that feedback. To parents, if you are watching this video, if it reaches to you, please understand that if your child is talkative, do not hold it against them. If they are wanting to communicate with you in the home, do not shut them up. Okay, I know you are tired because you have your job and stuff, but then again, you know, the child was never himself or herself asked to be born, right? So please have that consideration. Talk with them, give them feedback, and watch them grow, because that is what my parents did, and I'm extremely thankful to them for that. So please keep these things in mind. In terms of grades, let me tell you where I come from. So I scored 76% in class 12, not that great at all, and I scored 8.8 GPA in my class 10th. Okay, but not great. Did that hamper me in any shape or way throughout my career? Not really. Now, why do I say not really? Is because there were some companies in my undergraduation who didn't pick me to be eligible for them because I had less than 80% in my class 12th. So while I say that, you do have to understand the fact that those were maybe 2 or 3 organizations amongst 30 organizations that I was eligible for, which had similar opportunities, similar career paths, all of that. So your grades beyond a certain threshold, which to me is 70%, at the bottommost level, and if you want to really maintain good, I think it should be around 74 or 75%, just to be 100% sure. And if you want to be a very good performer, I think 80% is enough of a threshold to be very good in terms of your educational performance is considered. While I say that, I do not want you to take away the achievements of people who are getting excellent grades, who are toppers and stuff, because let me be very, very clear, people who score say 90%, 95% and all of that, they have a few qualities which are definitely great to build up. Number one is consistency. To succeed in academics, in India at least, you have to be ruthlessly consistent in your studies. At least at a school level you have to be. You have to be always on your A game in terms of understanding what is being taught to you, absorbing what is being taught to you, and then practicing it regularly. So consistency is definitely a hallmark and a great trait of whoever does very well, and definitely something to look up to. The second thing which I definitely believe that these people who scored such good grades have is the ability to perform when the stakes are absolutely at the highest. So you do have to understand that people who scored these marks are scoring these marks when examination is happening, and it is very tough during examinations to score that high marks. So definitely these people, the students, your peers, my peers, whoever has scored, like for example, maybe one of the people watching this video, Shayon Hai, so he's an absolute testament of performing consistently through and consistently at a very high level throughout his entire schooling career. Okay, so, and obviously in his college days as well, and he's doing excellent in his career right now. So please understand that it's not wrong to do that. Definitely nothing wrong in doing that, but there are issues with this approach also, and the issues are, a lot of times you do end up sacrificing and not paying attention to your health, like I mentioned before, because a lot of times all you're doing is going to school, getting in your studies, then coming back, going to tuition or sitting at home and just studying, right? Because again you have to have that consistency. So that in itself to me is not that appealing. And why I say that is, while I did maintain an 8.8 GPA in my class 10th, I did not score very well from class 4 all the way to class 10 half yearly. So from class 4 all the way to class 10 half yearly, I never had good marks. In fact, other than my first language, second language, and social studies, I used to flunk, or rather not flunk, basically I used to fail in every other subject except for the final examination. So except for the final examination, in every class since class 4 to class 10 half yearly, I used to fail in all other subjects. So am I proud of that? No. Do I recommend people doing that? No. But what I did during that time was also not waste my time. I interacted with wide variety of people, Shayon included, and I absorbed information from them. I absorbed how they approach life. I tried to understand different type of people, and I also spent that time talking with my parents, understanding what their experiences are throughout life, etc., all of that. So luckily my parents saw that in me, that they never doubted my ability to perform when crunch time happened, right? Because I used to always pass in the final exams, so they were never that much worried. Although I didn't understand it that time, but I kind of get it now. Spending your time so if you're not scoring that much high marks, if you're spending your time in other meaningful ways, like for example, if you are involved in say music, if you're involved in art, if you're art, I mean drawing, dancing, any form of creativity, right? That if you're involved in sports to an extent, so all of these things, if you have your education at a threshold of, like I said, that 70 to 80% marks, if you maintain that while you're doing other things, I think then it's fine. But definitely below that threshold, it's a problem, because you are not going to be eligible for a lot of organizations later down your career. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. We are seeing more and more young people being susceptible to heart problems, to kidney problems, liver problems, and all of this. And the reason for that is a cocktail of us being very sedentary in our early adult life, and even early teenage life for that matter in this case, and then mixing that with the high fat content and high saturated fat content in our Indian diet. Although the diet is of a different topic and on a different day altogether, but I just wanted to kind of get this through. So normally your school will start, you will go early to the school, then come back, then go to the tuition, whatever, then come back from the tuition, study, go to sleep, that's it. And obviously you have food in between, but your opportunity to grow as a child in terms of being healthy and physically growing is limited. We all know that India has a stunting problem with children, apart from malnutrition and stuff, but this is also due to the lack of physical exercise that we get. Now, physical exercise can be of any form. It can be you playing sports in your school, it can be in terms of doing any physical activity, like for example dancing, or you doing any sort of individual physical activity which is not in a team setting, for example like running, swimming in certain cases, and all of these. So what these allow you is to, as a child or as an early adult, a teenager, to develop motor patterns in your body and to also develop your health as you grow along and not have issues. Also, another thing which physical activity and sports will do to you, it will also stimulate your mind. A lot of people don't take this into account when we are discussing about physical activity in terms of sports, but let's take say running and a cricket like sports as an example. So running will allow you to kind of to develop mental fortitude along with physical fortitude. This is something a lot of people don't understand, but when you run, your body doesn't like it because it genuinely wants you to stop because it's causing it discomfort. So you have to mentally be there to kind of tell your body that, hey, no, I need to continue. So that develops a kind of a resilience in your head, in your mental fortitude. And a similar thing happens in cricket, but I want to kind of take you to another aspect of cricket, which is your ability to work as a team. So cricket, as you know, is a team game, and teamwork is also something that you need in your corporate setting, in your future career, whatever you do, because alone you can't do anything. Even if you start a business, you will eventually have a team, most likely. So knowing how to work with other people, knowing how to navigate around different people is very, very important, is extremely crucial for you. So again, sports will teach you to these things, interacting with multiple different type of people, developing that mental fortitude. All of these things will be developed through sports to a great degree, and that is something that I want you to keep in mind when you are thinking of sports or physical activity, not just from a health perspective, which this topic is, but also from other aspects which you want to develop. Obviously there are different ways everyone kind of develops, but saying this, I want to kind of conclude this video with saying that if you are like me, who was in the lower middle class family, then your grades will matter most. So you have to place your grades the highest, then health, then social skills, because without good grades it's really tough for you to break through that lower middle class or even potentially lower strata of society in terms of financial security. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're in the middle class or upper middle class, or maybe if you're rich and you're watching this, thank you by the way, but if you are in that financially stable position, I would place health right at top, then social skills, and then grades, because you have a bit more leeway to fail. Okay, in terms of grades, you can fail a bit more and then you have enough time to recover. So but if you're in the lower middle class or lower stratas in terms of economy, you really can't do that. So please keep these things in mind and proceed with this. Obviously there are multiple schools of thought. This is one way of thinking that I am bringing to you, bringing maybe a perspective that you didn't think of initially, and hopefully this kind of gets your brain to think maybe in a different way, hopefully. But yeah, if you like the content, do give a like or comment if you want to share your viewpoints, and subscribe if possible. That helps out. So yeah, that's it. See you in the next video. Bye bye.